last week or last Tuesday. A lot of things we talked about today. I know I mentioned a lot of resources really quickly. If you send me an email, then today or tomorrow, I will send you an email back with links and information on everything we talked about No Card Cafe. Today, we're going to talk about Postie cards, the book Real, the book Work by Referral, an interview with Kevin Bacon, and then a list I put together of 12 things you should do when you receive a referral. So I put my email in the link, and if you want to email me just send me an email, just tell me what the resource is. I'll put all that together and get that out. So we're going to back up a few minutes to last week for a few minutes. So we talked Tuesday about it's not the big things agents do. It's not the fact that I've got better handwriting than somebody else does and I can fill out a purchase offer better. It's the small things that demonstrate that we care about our clients, that we're interested, that we're more than just a salesperson, and we're interested in relationships. We talked about small differentiators. And I'll go through a list of kind of what I do with a listing, what we do, and they're not big things, they're small things. So the first thing somebody may call and say, I'm interested in listing my house. Naturally, I get the address right away and immediately handwrite a note to them saying, hey, thanks for reaching out today. I look forward to seeing you on Thursday at 12 o'clock. If you have any questions between now and then, give me a shout. And that's all I write. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, just a note saying, I appreciate you calling. Go to a listing appointment. I will follow that up with another note saying, hey, thanks for taking time out of your day to meet with me and view your home. I'll be working on your market analysis and things like that. Again, any questions, feel free to give me a call. When we list a house, so today I've got a listing going up, I'll go by, put the sign up, put the lockbox on the house. We went to Amazon.com. I do this every winter anyhow, but now with COVID-19, we do it year round, and I buy literally a box of, 12 or 24 plastic shoe trays. And we drop that off, and then my wife put together these little baskets she picked up at Michael's or something. And they have some fancy rocks in the bottom. And then there's a big bottle of hand sanitizer we got from Amazon.com. And then you can buy bulk face mask, and we put 20 extra face masks in there. And then the sign that's branded with my personal stuff, it says, please remove your shoes. Again, not a big thing, not an expensive thing, but something, that you're demonstrate, that you care about their well-being and their house, and you're, kind of current on what's going on. And it's amazing. Somebody will talk to their friend who recently or is going to sell their house, and they'll be like, well, my agent didn't do that. And again, these are the small differentiators that are going to kind of, make you stand out. Once I list a house, I have a listing checklist going, hey, congratulations, listed your house. Here's what's going on the next 7 days timeline wise. We're going out on the market Wednesday, showing start Friday, offers are due, at 6 o'clock on Sunday, and that kind of stuff. Once they receive an offer, there's another checklist that goes out. And we just this month started using a product that integrates with Gmail called Folio, Folio. It is very, very neat. So the Folio searches your Gmail, looking for addresses and things like that. Basically, and then you can link your client in, but it basically sets up a calendar when the mortgage commitment's due, if there's a home inspection, all the things that got to happen, and then and then you share that with the client. They have all those dates. You're not going to get a phone call asking about when the mortgage is due. It also provides reminders, so we make sure we send things out. So like I have a countdown to closing checklist. So 2 weeks before closing, there's a checklist about utilities and making sure crap is cleaned out of their basement and things like that. And then if it's a buyer we're working with, or that client's buying another house, we mentioned the other day, We do the big 31 tote with all the moving day supplies in it. None of those are big, fancy, expensive things. It's all little things that kind of separate us from, the biggest complaint from consumers about real estate agents is actually communication. So all those things revolve around communication. All those things demonstrate that we're interested in them personally. So that's just to kind of back up and kind of reiterate and bring together some of those ideas we talked about on Tuesday. So Tuesday, we talked about the importance of building, maintaining, cultivating relationships in terms of building a strong foundation for a long-term business. The purpose of that is just having a business that thrives on repeat and referral business. And then since we talked Tuesday, I've got 2 referrals. One is to sell a golf course, which I am completely inept and ill-equipped to do. So I referred that to a friend of mine who does commercial real estate. And another one is to sell I have a past client that works at RIT, and they have an incoming professor, and to help them find a house. So, and that's just how I do things. So this is the part we talked about, or you've always heard, it takes money to make money. This is that part. This is the investment you're going to make in time. It's going to cost money. And again, I look at it as an investment. You heard a big term in business when it comes to advertising and marketing is ROI, or return on investment. And again, like we talked about the other day, these are the seeds you'll plant, the seeds you'll water, the seeds you'll nurture, and eventually, reap the harvest. Relational versus transactional. We talked about the other day, why I gravitate towards relational, and you're going to have to do a bit of both to get started. I still do a bit of both, but heavily weighted on the relational approach. My transactional stuff I do, like my farm area, is more of a passive thing. I don't spend a lot of time or money on it. I send out something quarterly, and what happens, happens. But to me, relational is more rewarding because it's personal and it's built on trust and confidence. Matter of fact, my slogan that I use on everything I send out to past clients for the last 25 years is refer with confidence. So if I send out something, it's my newsletter, anything that goes out to past clients, or my list of relationships has that tagline on it. The relational approach is more cost effective. New business is extremely expensive to generate. So if you're buying leads off a third-party source, be it Zillow or one of the other sources, that's very expensive business to generate. And it's expensive both financially, and it's very expensive time-wise. But again, getting started, and I've been there, done that. You do everything, you do everything. But again, even right from the beginning, you need to be working on your relationships with friends and relatives and your sphere of influence and people you gravitate to and know. So developing those relationships creates raving fans. Raving fans create the best marketing and the best referrals. So I have, my mailing list is 500 people. Not all of them are raving fans. Probably 50 of them are. 50 of them are my best people that consistently generate multiple referrals. And the other ones come along, but and that's just natural. So lastly, it's creative. It's the fun part of what I do and what we do. So we spend a lot of time brainstorming. We're starting to work on our 2021 calendar and pull that together and come up with a few new ideas. So yeah, and it's, hope is not a strategy. Having goals is not a strategy. Having a plan is a strategy. So this is all about planning your work. Hopefully you downloaded the calendars for the rest of 2020 and 2021. This is about planning your work and then working your plan. And like we talked about the other day, it's synergy. This is the combining of Synergy is the interaction or cooperation between two or more forces or factors to produce a combined effect. So I have my farm area, and we were just talking about what we're doing with that and getting that ready to go out January with the year-end report. So my farm area, we do the mailman's coming, so my dogs are going to go crazy. My farm area, we do a report to 3,000 houses. It's 2 neighborhoods. And the one that goes out in January, February is everything that's sold in their house or in their neighborhood this last year. So we give the address, we give the list price, the sale price, all that information. Because I've been doing it for 20 years, I have these graphs and charts to show them how many houses have sold year by year, average sale price, how that's all changed. And then I'll list any houses I've sold and some other information. We just been talking about CANI the other day, constant and never-ending improvement. We just did a major overhaul on that marketing piece in terms of the design and the look and the feel to really upscale it. So the 4 P's are going to be people, planning, personal, and purposeful. So people is your sphere, which we talked about, your database or your list of relationships. And I always, I kind of, since I heard that term, list of relationships, I try to avoid using words like CRM and things like that. But it's your friends, it's your relatives, it's your current clients, it's your future clients. I have a new client. I sold their son and daughter-in-law a house. They tagged along at one point and mentioned they might be moving. So I put them on my list, and I made sure they got a newsletter or 2. And sure enough, we sold their house, and now we're talking to a builder months later. So anyone you have a great interaction with, clients, parents, friends, and not all and like we talked about, A+, A, B's, and C's. Not everybody on the list is going to be somebody. Not everybody on my list is somebody that I have this great referral relationship with. People that are C's on the list are people I want to develop relationships with to get them, with the purpose being I want to get the C's up to B's and the B's up to A's and the A+. It's kind of the inner workings, or that's kind of the mindset we have. So again, your A+, or my A+, are people that refer me constantly. There may be years where I get 2, 3, or 4 referrals or more. People I do a lot of work with. I've got families that over the last 28 years, I'm 3 and 4 generations deep and working with grandparents and parents, kids, and now, the grandkids. Last year I had somebody call me to buy a house, and I recognized the name, and it's somebody I've known since they were like 6. So, when I sold her parents' house. So A's are people that will refer you if they have a chance. They may be a little bit shy, but if somebody's asking, if somebody says, "Hey, do you know a great real estate agent?" They'll refer you. B's are kind of defined as people that would refer you if they knew how. It might be a new client. You just kind of need to nurture that relationship and bring them along. You need to remind them that, refer you with confidence. And then my newsletter, we'll talk about newsletters in a bit. Right on the back of it, we have a referral tracker. So we just basically say, there's 3 things. It'll be, our sales for the quarter, year to date, how many houses we sold, average days on market, and then the percentage of our referral business. So all my clients are aware that that's important. We mention it often, kind of in a subtle way, but we're very purposeful about that. So, and if you have a D on your list, D stands for delete. So, honestly, you reach, I I paid my dues, and I worked with, I worked with clients that we didn't always get along, worked with clients that it wasn't always fun. They were hard to work for, or the houses were tough, but I did what I had to do. You get to a point in your career, hopefully, that D stands for delete. So there are just sometimes, tough scenarios, tough situations. Things don't always work out the way everybody intended. You get the deal closed, everybody parts friends, but you just don't want to deal with it again, kind of thing. And that's okay to do. So I struggle with that. But then I remind myself, I've got several years left of doing this, and I want to have fun. So the second P is planning. But use your calendar. Having been in this for 28 years, having watched a lot of other agents, they just move from one thing to the next. They try something, it doesn't work for 2 or 3 or 4 months. They never implement it. Whatever the excuse is, they don't stick with it. You can't do one mailing. Like my farm area I'm 20 years into it. So naturally it pays off. It didn't really pay off a lot the first year or two. But yeah, what I found is using your calendar makes me committed. And my assistant goes out to Amazon, gets this big wall calendar that you can write on with markers and erase. And it's she's probably ordering the one for this year, and it sits in our office. It's behind the door. We spend a whole morning. We get together. We look at the calendar. We write things on it. We know exactly when the next newsletter is coming out. We know what the theme of that newsletter is going to be, except for 2020 when COVID hit. It kind of completely derailed a lot of stuff, and we had to kind of reset that. We know exactly what client appreciation programs are going to happen and when they're going to happen, and exactly what the budgets are for those. So we get all that done now. We started that in September. And, we'll finish that up. There's one thing we're working on, replacing and brainstorming, and I think we've got that nailed down. But so, starting December, we can look at the calendar and go, hey, here's what's coming up the first 2 weeks of January. Here's what we need to start working on. And we're working that far ahead. January comes and we look at what's going to happen in February, and so on. So you've got to be deliberate and you've got to be measured, meaning we spend a lot of time talking about just being very deliberate about what we're doing, who we're doing it with, who we're targeting in terms of past client, and very measured, meaning we're very intent about spacing things out. So, that you want to find this balance where their client and your past clients don't feel like they're just being pounded with real estate stuff. At the same time, that so much time doesn't go by that they forget about you. So we're like every 6 to 8 weeks trying to stay in touch with people. Planning allows you for efficient budgeting. So we were just kind of talking about that. We have 3 or 4 big things we do every year. I set the budget at $1,000 for most of those. One program we did in September, I upped that to $1,500 this year. But we know exactly what we're going to spend well ahead of time. And you start small. I've got to the point where my budget's much bigger. When I first started, I think the first year I sent out, holiday cards, I probably sent out 25. My budget was $50. That budget's much bigger than that now, but that's grown with my business. So I can, the idea being January 1st, our calendar's complete. I can look at it. I know exactly what we're doing. I know exactly what I'm committed to financially. Planning allows you time to prepare, allows you time to be creative, allows you time to make adjustments. One of the things we always do in February was send out movie tickets to our A+ people. And movie tickets were a great idea until March of 2020. And that's the one we're working on replacing right now, which I think we're going to replace actually with Delta Sonic. probably interior cleaning gift cards. So it's allowed us time to make those adjustments. We can look back, oh, that worked in the past because of new restrictions. It's not going to work in the future, and change that. It allows us the time to be creative. So we're sitting here in August and September talking about what we're going to do in February as we put our calendar together. So we've had this time to prepare. I threw it out there. My wife works with me now. She lost her job due to COVID, and then my assistant, and we brainstormed going, we need to think about replacing this and come up with something creative. And then we all came back a week later and shared our ideas. So planning allows you to stay ahead of the process. It's a lot easier to work being proactive rather than reactive. And so much of what we do as real estate agents is reacting to issues and problems with deals and, clients and their houses and inspection things, and, the water heater goes. So we're reacting to a lot of stuff. This is just, to me, I find a great sense of relief, and that I can stay ahead of it and be proactive. Oh, personal. This is the part of the business, this is the relational part. So our big thing is when we send out a newsletter, when we decide to, like I mentioned, send out movie tickets and things like that. This is the investment part. We're trying to provide items or information of value. We're trying to fill a void with value and information that's meaningful or helpful. So early in the year, I think right after COVID hit, our newsletter was, we sent out a big, the whole front page of our newsletter was parks and places to go for hikes and visit waterfalls and stuff like that. So people get out of the house and could go to those places. So while everybody's kind of in lockdown trying to figure out what to do because everything's closed, those things were open. We provided that information, make sure, we gave websites and, addresses and things like that. Focus on being genuine. Try to do everything I do. I try to make it fun. I do have a Facebook business page that's highly underutilized because it's not a lot of fun. Most of my clients, most of my sphere of influence are all friends with me on my personal page, which is much more fun. It's motorcycle trips, and it's occasionally a house, and it's information on the market, and it's another motorcycle trip, and it's, I'm an amateur hack photographer, and, I'll post photos, and my dogs are on there. That's a lot more interesting. It's a lot more genuine. It's a lot better than just pounding people with information about it's a great time to sell or it's a great time to buy. You're just, you're strengthening those connections that you've worked on. So real estate's a very interesting business where you have these relationships with your clients and they're very intense for 60, 90, 120 days. I mean, you got this, 2 to 4, sometimes 6 month window, maybe a year if you're working with a buyer. And you've invested a lot of time in those relationships, and they're, and then if you can turn it into something fun and interesting, when I'm working with a buyer or a seller, I'm making notes that I transfer into my software, my relationship management software about, maybe where they met, maybe what hobbies they have. That way, when I'm talking to them in the future, I can kind of work on those connections. And, I may see something online that's, I've got a past client that's very big into this mountain bicycling and mountain bike racing and stuff. So if I see something, I saw something in Pennsylvania about a big trail, and I sent that to him. It's just something, easy to do. So it's less business, more client, and then kind of more of you, and being a little bit vulnerable with that. So purposeful, the whole intent, not only, the purpose of building these relationships is for repeat business. House I sold Sunday, I sold to these people 18 or 19 years ago. And it's been maintaining that relationship. And in the interim, I sold a relative's house and things like that. But indirectly, directly asking for referrals. So like I had mentioned, my tagline on everything is refer with confidence. And then right in the newsletter is a tracker on, how many referrals we've got this year, what percentage of our business has been referrals. On my Facebook page, occasionally I'll just throw something out there going, hey, thanks for, had a big month or whatever it was, something kind of informal. Using Facebook, but again, then I'll put right on there, thanks for your trust and confidence, referring your family, friends, coworkers, kind of thing, just reminding people. And then, so under purposeful, you want to use a call to action or an actionable tagline, something like refer with confidence. There's all kinds of variations, but coming up with something that you can just kind of use with your branding. And then being committed to the process and the production. This is, like we mentioned the other day, this is long-term. This is a long-term outlet. This is going to be the crux. If you do it right, this is going to be all of your business in 10 years, 15 or 20. I'm now, I'm at year 28. I don't go looking for leads. I just had a property that got bombed with leads from realtor.com, and I honestly called another agent and I just forwarded them all. I don't have time, and I've got, other stuff with clients. I can only do so much. So tonight I'm actually, being committed to the process, and like we're talking about long term, I've got a client tonight. I'm listing their house. I sold their first house probably 20 years ago. I've worked with coworkers and friends of theirs that have been referrals. They just bought, their kids just all finished college. They just bought a lake house 2 weeks ago, and now we're listing their house in Fairport tonight. This has been a long-term relationship to the point where they're more friends than clients. And we've been out looking at these lakefront properties for a year and a half, almost 2 years, and we have a good time doing it, and we laugh and we joke, and it's a lot more relaxed because, again, we're coming from a place where it's a relationship and they've become friends over long term. So consistency is very much the key to success over time. So it's sticking with the program. Remember, we're planting seeds, and the farmer doesn't go out when the ground thaws in March or April and bend over and stick his finger in the ground and plant a seed and walk away and never comes back. He goes back to it and he waters it and he weeds it and he fertilizes it and he checks on it. So it's a long-term thing, and it's very much the same thing in our business. So, and then with the things you choose to do, and we're going to get into the calendar next. The things you choose to do is trying to own that space. So there's a lot of marketing books out there, and my degree in education's in marketing. There's one on marketing, and I forget the exact title, but it's basically the battle for your mind. It's called positioning in the battle for your mind. So it's all about owning that space. So I may say, what's your favorite cola? And you'll say Coke or Pepsi. Well, Coke or Pepsi owns that space, that preference in your brain. The same thing with real estate. So when we're doing our calendar, there are a few things we do, not unique to us, but unique to that date. So a lot of people will do Christmas cards. Problem with Christmas cards is everybody does Christmas cards. I get a Christmas card from the 5 guys I bought cars from. I get Christmas cards from attorneys. I get Christmas cards and I open them up and I can't read the handwriting and I don't know who it's from. So we do Thanksgiving cards. Nobody does Thanksgiving cards. Or if they do, it's very far and few between. To make that personal, my assistant just got done hand addressing 350 envelopes. They're all handwritten. They're not labeled. They're not sent bulk rate. They're all sent with first class stamps. She'll be dropping those off to me, and I have the fun job of writing 350 personal notes, specifically, you know, addressed to Dan and Jen, and, you know, a note and hoping their family's well and all that stuff. We do that every year, and I own that space. So I own Thanksgiving with my clients, kind of thing. So on the, you know, most likely 99.9% sure the only Thanksgiving card they're getting, the only one that'll be sitting on the table or mantle or kitchen counter for a while, and I kind of own that. Other idea, you know, 4th of July, things like that. Things are, you know, dates that are popular but kind of offbeat. You know, personalize the experience. We brand everything. So again, the handwritten notes, the handwritten Thanksgiving cards. We'll talk about some other cards that we do, and again, they're all branded. You know, and then being unique and striving to connect with your clients. So the workshop part. So we're going into the 4th quarter. This is when you want to look at your calendar a bit. 4th quarter to us is very high touch, and that is to generate or build a high yield 2021 in this case. So we are doing, you know, this is, you know, we put a lot into the 4th quarter, being very personable, being what we call very high touch, handwritten notes, handwritten Thanksgiving cards. This is planting the big seeds for referrals. This is planting the big seeds for people who are thinking about moving in the spring. So September, we do mums. I call the florist down the street and Genrich's and Arundecoy, and we order mums. It doesn't matter. There's a newer agent at the office, and she's, you know, and I pressed her to do the same thing. And she's, well, I don't have anybody. I go, if you know 10 people, you've got, go buy 10, do 10. We did 150 this year, which is a huge commitment. I mean, because it's 3 people, and then we've got to deliver them all. You know, 2 months before that, again, looking at her calendar, we know that's coming. My assistant goes to our graphic design person going, we need these cards again this year. And it says the fall market's in bloom. On the back of it is just a note from me going, thanks for all your, you know, wishing you a fantastic fall. Thanks for all your trust and confidence, refer with confidence. And that's it. And then it goes in the big stake. You know, the girls dropped them off. And that all happened while I was on a 10-day motorcycle trip. So my assistant and wife enjoyed that job this year. But, you know, very high touch. And I get, if you go to my Facebook page, my personal one, if you're friends with me, I got more play, I got more publicity out of that than any ad I could possibly run. So I think that whole thing, you know, my budget's big, but that whole thing cost me $1,500 between payroll, between product and printing. I instantly got 2 referrals for somebody who wants to buy a house. They don't need to sell their house, which is like a gift from God. So they can spend up to $250 without selling their house, and then I can sell their house. So that one referral more than paid for all the time and energy that went into it. And then it cascaded from there. So you'll notice when you do these things and you do them on a consistent basis, it's almost like we dropped off mums, and in the month since, I can look back and go, you know, I got this big harvest of referrals. So I got the one the other day for the golf course. I got the one for the relocation client for RIT. I've got another past client that reached out and said, we need to sell our big house. You sold us 15 years ago for variety, you know, so that's a big one. So September, we do mums, kind of a big thing. People love it. People post it on Facebook. You know, one past client goes, hey, we bought a house 4 years ago, and, you know, we still get stuff from our agent. I can't buy that kind of advertising anywhere. I can't buy that. I can't buy that, you know, in the DNC. You know, that's priceless. November. So this one you guys still have time to do. Thanksgiving's 6 weeks away. Best idea my mom ever gave me was Thanksgiving cards. Generally, I'll do my A plus, A's, and B's. I think this year we did 350 cards. My mailing list is somewhere around 500. So we got just about everybody again. Going a little bit bigger this year for a variety of reasons. One of those reasons, a lot of agents that have been in the market pulled themselves out of the market, stopped working. And I kind of do the opposite. I start, I go bigger on things, taking advantage of that gap in the market. So Posty Cards, and I think it's postycards.com, Posty cards is a great resource for holiday cards. And that's where we got our Thanksgiving cards. And get nice envelopes, and they're foil, and they're affordable. I think we've used most of the good ones, and I got to probably find a new vendor next year unless they come out with some newer stuff. But you still have time, and whether you order 25, whether you order 50, it's extremely affordable, and a great opportunity. So if I do anything around Christmas, it's to my very best, maybe 10 or 12 best A plus people, not all my A plus people, but my very best. So sometimes I will, sometimes I won't. January's newsletter is the big one, because it's kind of the year in review. We'll have something on the front page of, things. The front page is always family focused, on things that are, winter festivals or in the past. I mean, and COVID-19 has really challenged us to come up with creative things to provide people to do. But the whole idea with our front page and giving people, visiting parks and stuff, is I actually have one client goes, hey, I have all those things for the last 10 years in a binder, so she can refer to them. Then we get into that newsletter, kind of wrapping up. Here's how many houses we sold, average days on market. Hey, 94% of our business is referral business. So we're just kind of opening the door in the new year. February, we've always done movie tickets to our A plus people. You can buy movie tickets in bulk. I don't know if you can buy movie tickets anymore, but we always bought them. We went right to their online, I forget which company it was. Delta Sonic, you can do the same thing. We've already looked into it, and we did it probably 8 or 10 years ago. We had a really bad winter, so we did the interior cleaning prepaid things from Delta Sonic, and I think that's what we're going to do again this year. So either the super kiss wash or the interior cleaning, and we'll mail those out. We'll have a card made up. We've always done like a card that a graphic designer does for me, with a movie theater theme. This year we got to change that. March, April. So March, April, we do something, that's our fun one for the year. We do St. Patrick's Day cards. So I will Google, or somebody will Google a nice Irish saying or blessing, and we put that on there. Inside, somebody gets the good job of going to the convenience store and buying out all their scratch-off lottery tickets. Depending on the year, we'll do, we'll put in we'll probably put in 2 tickets, so it's $2 per person. And that we do almost everybody with. I think last year we did 500. But again, my list is bigger, my sphere of influence. And that's our fun one. And again, that's one that makes Facebook, or that's one where I get text messages or messages from going, hey, I won $10, or hey, I didn't win anything, but appreciate the tickets. It's just kind of the fun thing. So that's an idea that we do. May, June, we do our spring newsletter, kind of how the market's starting out for us. The first 3 months of the year, how sales went. That same time frame, when the weather breaks, we take all our buyers from the previous year. So in 2021, in May, we'll put together a list of all the people who bought houses in June. We will send them out a note card saying, hey, in the next 2 weeks, you're going to get a brand new doormat. So when you come home and find a doormat, that's where it came from. Appreciate your business and refer with confidence. And then my assistant goes to Home Depot and buys all their doormats. So, and then we drop those off. So, you know, if I work with 30 or 40 buyers in a year, then it's 30 or 40 we drop off. And again, that's, you know, those are all our newest clients. Those are all the relations, you know, the ideas. Those are the newest set of clients that we want to develop relationships with, and kind of let them know what we're all about. July and August is our fun month, and we try to do nothing. So, you know, historically, with the exception of the last 2 years, is usually our slowest months. My assistant goes on vacation. I try like hell to go on vacation or just take time off and not be so intense. So we kind of, you know, people are generally, with the exception of this year, preoccupied with summer vacations, preoccupied getting with kids getting ready to go back to school. And so we kind of slack that time a little bit too. September, October, again, you know, this is when we kick things back in the high gear. Newsletter goes out again with our year-to-date sales. Our mums is literally one of my favorite ones, and that's the you know, that's the big high touch one. And we buy the bigger ones, and we make sure that you get them before they're fully bloomed, so they last a lot longer. And we have a lot of fun with that. And we've got clients that after, you know, 10 years just come to kind of, I'm sure, expect it, but they know it's kind of coming, and it's still kind of a big deal. November, we talked about. December, you know, that's the space we own, along with the mums thing. If you've been, you know, one of my, you know, top 100, 150 referring clients, then you're in the, you know, that mums thing in September is kind of a routine now. Again, Thanksgiving cards, and, you know, just simply owning that space. And that's what we're working on now. We've been working on it since September, putting the list together, who's going to get them, 350 people, handwriting each envelope. And now I've got to sit down and handwrite all the notes inside. And again, postycards.com is a good resource for that. Newsletters I've talked about a lot. So elements in the newsletter that we often use: recent sales, sale pendings, listings. So page, I usually hold this stuff up and nobody can see it, but anyway, yeah, it's not going to do it. I can email you the PDF of that. Page 1 is simply the fun things. This one in particular, again, was parks, hikes, and waterfalls. Page 2 is recent sales. I put everything in there we sold, and we try to pick a variety of locations and price ranges, just to kind of demonstrate to clients that, hey, you know, last year I worked from $50,000 houses to $500,000 houses, and I worked from, I mean, literally last year from Dansville out to it was 2.5 or 3 hours away. I mean, I've been out to Oswego in the last year, out by Sackett's Harbor. I was this year. I didn't particularly looking for a house 3 hours away in Sackett's Harbor, but it was a referral from a past client. It was waterfront, and it was worth the time and money. So page 3, our newsletter, this particular one, because of COVID-19, my assistant came up with indoor activities, and there were 10 of those. And then she had a little sideline of 20 virtual field trips you could go on with your kids, 12 world-class museums you could visit online. We just started putting all these together. We wanted to become a resource for more than real estate, and that's kind of our angle on this. You know, real estate's what we do, but when we're communicating with clients, it's kind of in the background, and all this other stuff we're giving them is more in the forefront. Spring cleaning, home improvements, she did at the bottom of that. So I kind of give her free reign on page 3. She'll run it by me, and I'll like it or not like it. At the back, because this is a 4-page fold out. The back, the whole top is sales stats for, this one was January to February. 19 sales, average time on market 8 days, percentage, 95% referrals and past clients. Also on that page 4 with our with this whole underlying message of referrals is a little box, and it's there every month. It never changes. It says real estate beyond Rochester. And it says, do you need help with a real estate agent outside the greater Rochester area or even out of New York? And I am specifically asking for referrals anywhere in the country. And there are years I have made $20,000 to $30,000 in referral fees because somebody will call and say, my mom passed away. This is a recent one, and she has a house in Little Rock, Arkansas. Do you know an agent? And I spend less than an hour Googling who's the biggest agent, talking to 2 or 3 people till I find one I like that I think is a good match, and I make the connection, and they send out a piece of paper, and the other agent signs it, and I get 25% of their commission for an hour's worth of work. So that was a $2,200 check for 45 minutes to an hour's worth of work. This year, I've had 3 clients sell their houses and go to Colorado. I've had 1 go to Tennessee. I've had 2 go to Texas. I've had 3 go to Florida. And even if you're only successful in getting half of those as referral fees. So if you go on a listing appointment, says, you know, somebody goes, yeah, we're thinking about moving. We're thinking about going to Florida. We're thinking about going to Texas. You go, great. My next question is, what city? And do you know anybody there? No, I don't know anybody there. Or my aunt lives there. You know, if you need any help, I'd love to connect you with a great agent who works like myself, kind of thing. And I will, and I explain to them what I do. I will get on the phone, I'll interview these people, make sure you get hooked up and connect with somebody, that works much like myself. That is, that's like an untapped gold mine. And there's years where it pays off big, like this year. And I think you're going to see a lot of people moving out of New York in the next year or 2. But yeah, and I never really bring up the fact that I'm getting paid to do this. It's just something, it takes a big burden off of them. It solves a problem, and it's great passive income. It's easy money, so that is always there. Real estate market update. So high touch, I mentioned a lot. Anything you do, any message you deliver, you just want to make sure it's something of value. So we're not big into trinkets and things like that. Brian Buffini, who I mentioned the other day, if you start following him and reading him, he's into this, what they call pop buys, P-O-P buys. So you have your select group of clients once a month. You pop by with this with this gift, and I think they're kind of goofy. To me, it's a little bit out of my comfort zone, but it's the same idea where you're delivering information or items of value. So to me, delivering mums is an item of value. It's fall, it's nice. Delivering doormats is nice. It's an item of value. Our newsletter, we try to make sure it's something that people would, they look at it and they want to keep it. And the idea is I want to own the space on the refrigerator until the next one comes out. So, receiving referrals. So when you get a referral, the big thing is to acknowledge it. So immediately, I got a referral from the professor at RIT. He's been a client of mine probably 20 years. So immediately picked up the phone, immediately said, thank you. I appreciate it. Appreciate your trust and confidence. I will do my very, very best as always. And I'm going to contact Dr. and so-and-so right away. I have Dr. So-and-so's email, sent him an email going, letting him a little bit know about information about myself. And then asking him what I can do to assist or make his move, what resources I can provide to help him with his move, making things, making an easy transition. And then today I will actually mail out a handwritten thank you note to my past client and include a gift card. I think right now we're doing $50 gift cards to Phillips European. We kind of change that up, but you're rewarding that behavior, and I'm rewarding the behavior whether or not the relocating doctor buys anything or not. It's not, me rewarding that behavior, me being acknowledging that my client did what I've asked him to do isn't contingent upon that person actually closing on a house. It may not close. The guy may decide, yeah, I heard taxes are going up in New York, or hey, I'm moving here from Texas and I don't like snow and I'm not taking the job. That's fine. It's it's my job to close the deal. The client did their job, so to speak, by providing a referral. So I instantly reward that behavior because you want them to do it again. So it's funny because I had a referral earlier this year and I went to the people's house and just before I left, they said, "Oh, Karen said to make sure she knew you, she referred us to you." I think Karen's like on the gravy train, kind of like knowing she's going to get something, but Karen's been Karen's great past client. I've actually, and I think I mentioned her on Tuesday, I've actually never sold her a house or helped her buy a house, but I get a lot of referrals from her, which is very interesting. But somebody I met passively through another past client, and then I adopted and put it on my mailing list. So again, I put my email in the chat thing earlier. If you email me today, sometime by tomorrow, I will make sure you get a list of all these resources we've talked about. I'll look for the PDF of my newsletter. If not, I'll scan it, make sure you have that as an example. Email you 8 things you got to do when you receive a referral. All the other things we talked about, No Card Cafe, the 2 books. And I'm going to, it's like my job to read at least a paragraph out of a book. Yeah, real estate, real estate is a big mindset business. You spend, to me at least, I spend a lot of time alone in the car. It's almost a mind game and keeping, keeping yourself in the game, so to speak. It's easy to get distracted. It's easy to go walk the dog. It's easy to get very discouraged because you're having a bad day or a bad week. It's easy to worry about the next deal. It's easy to worry about if the deal is going to close or not. So if I come across something I think is of importance, just challenging ourselves or keeping ourselves in the game, so to speak, I'd like to share that. Brian Buffini has a fantastic podcast. He interviews some great people. He's a very smart business person. He immigrated to the United States from Ireland and was pretty much homeless and living in his car, and built a fantastic real estate business and works by referral and teaches that whole system and reinforces it. But he interviewed Kevin Brown, who's a world-class speaker. Kevin Brown recently wrote a book called The Hero Effect. So Kevin was asked to give a lecture on what it means to be a hero and things. So Kevin spent a lot of time kind of thinking about that and going through that process. And I think the traditional, or, everybody's definition of a hero is somebody who's, an ordinary person who kind of steps up in a moment, specific in time, and does something very extraordinary or extraordinary. And that made Kevin think a lot. And he kind of rethought it. Kevin's premise was, and he writes here, a hero is an extraordinary person who chooses not to be ordinary. So Kevin's premise is to buy into the traditional definition that a hero is somebody who's ordinary, who chooses to be who is extraordinary at some specific moment in time. Basically means we're all built kind of the same. We're all come into this world with no specific person, no purpose, or no specific talent. You have to buy into that notion. So he writes in, a hero is an extraordinary person who chooses not to be ordinary. If you buy into the notion that everybody was born extraordinary, then you must concede that ordinary thinking is learned behavior, a conditioned response based on the voices in your head. You've been convinced of your unworthiness. Your averageness shows up in the way you talk to yourself and to others. You become stuck in the thinking, I'm not good enough. It will never work out. It just wasn't meant to be. Or my favorite, I am who I am. No, you're not. You are who you decide to become, and it becomes with understanding and believing that you were born extraordinary. If you become ordinary, it's your own choice. And I like that a lot because it's real estate's just we talk about all these things and differentiating ourselves from other agents, and it's the small things we do. And I often tell everybody I am absolutely the worst salesperson. I'm shy. It takes me a while to kind of, I'm the type of person who'll step back and process things and then respond. And in sales, that's, typically you want to respond right away. But I come at it from the perspective that a house sells itself. I actually don't sell houses. I sell myself and my services and what I do and and more importantly, how I do it and how I connect with clients. So Kevin's premise is that, deep down, we need to kind of challenge ourselves. And we talked about this the other day, figuring out how you're going to come across to your clients and your sphere of influence and build that trust and confidence. So he's got a great story, and I'll share the link with you in that email on Kevin's Brian Buffini's podcast. It's a very fascinating story that involves his son and going to Disneyland. So anyhow, I hope this information is a big help. I encourage you to start small. If you're new in this business and your list is 20 people, start with 20 people. I moved to Rochester 30 years ago. Never lived here. Did commercial development for a big company. Never owned a house. Worked 80 hours a week at what I did. I had to build buildings. I had to hire 125 people. I had to get the business up and running, and then I would pack up and move to the next city. And I quit one day. And I really didn't know Rochester. I thought Fairport was on the lake because it had water going through it. So completely screwed up. I had enough sick time and vacation time built up where I played golf for 6 weeks till I figured out what I wanted to do. I had to call the real estate agent who thought he was going to build me a new house and tell him I quit my job and I couldn't get financing. And then I told him I was going to come work with him. Got my real estate license and basically started with, I don't have any relatives here. I still don't. Didn't go to church or didn't really know anybody other than the people I worked with, and I had just quit, so they're not going to buy a house from their boss who just quit. But anyhow, but I started small, and I started by, at that time I would, there were expired listings, and I would put together a list of expireds in the morning, and I would go out and knock on those doors, and I would just say, here's a, hi, Mr. Smith, I saw your listing expired. Here's just want to drop off some information about myself in case you decide to interview other agents. And I built my business from there. And interestingly enough, 28 years later, my assistant is the wife of somebody that I knocked on their door my first year in real estate. And I've just always maintained those relationships. But I started where everybody else started. And that was with no database, no sphere of influences, no past clients. And you just have to work on those things. The other thing I noticed when I started, there were 2 agents at the office I worked with that I watched a lot. And they were both successful. And one was Sharon and one was Doreen. And I would sit across from Sharon's office every day and listen to her work the phone. So she had been in the business forever. Started her own company, closed her own company, came back to Remax, and Sharon was very transactional. She was constantly on the phone calling expireds, calling for sale by owners, and she was what I call the turn it and burn it approach. It was just working on the next deal, the next transaction. It was all about the next closing and slamming the next sign in the ground and then moving on and just never If the people didn't like her, it didn't matter. She was getting paid. Doreen, very organized, very quiet. Doreen did things like mail out cards. There's one that I've always wanted to do, but I don't do, mail out cards to clients on the anniversary date that they purchased their home. It's a great idea. I just never did it. That's a fantastic one. Doreen was very relational. Doreen built a hell of a business. And Doreen didn't sit there and start new every day. And again, you've got to do a little bit of both to get started. I was very transactional at the beginning, but always wanted to become very relational like Doreen. I kind of wanted to move towards that. And when I finally adopted being very personal and very purposeful, specifically with like starting with Brian Buffini, within a year, my business doubled. And then now it's really very much self-sustaining, where I'm just as busy as I want to be. And it's, you know, I answer the phone. I don't pick up the phone and call and chase people. They call me. So it's a nice place to be. It's a lot of work to get there. So hopefully you'll send me an email. I'll get all that stuff out to you. Feel free to call me. I'll throw in my cell phone here. You guys ever have questions, you want to run ideas by me, I am always available. But again, you know, appreciate you taking time out. The second part, the do part, is the fun part. I enjoyed a lot. Just connecting with people and maintaining relationships, and, you know, clients very much becoming your friend, so to speak. So it's a nice mindset, and it's a nice place to kind of work from. So any questions anybody has before we go for the day?
No, thank you for everything. Great.
Oh, you're welcome. Hopefully it's a help. I think I've gone to a lot of seminars and stuff over the years. My attitude is, you know, if you can walk away with 2 or 3 nuggets of information, nothing I do is truly unique to myself. It's just nuggets. You know, it's something I've gone, that's a great idea, and I take it and I make it my own kind of thing. There's a verse in the Bible that says there's nothing new under the sun, and it's very much true. This isn't anything new that I'm doing. These are bits and pieces I've taken from watching other agents work, listening, reading, and things. I go, I like that idea, I'll take that one. And then changing it, making it mine. So Brian Buffini, I love the guy to death. He's a fantastic speaker, great ideas, very good at keeping your head in the game. I don't necessarily like the way he does his pop by things. So I take it and I change it and I kind of make it my own. So hopefully you guys have got a couple ideas out of the last 2 sessions, and hopefully it's helpful. And again, it's a long-term proposition, but very much worth the investment. So anybody else? Guys, shoot me an email. I will make sure you get links and copies of everything we talked about. Again, I'm always available. If you want to bounce ideas off me, if you want to chat about something you're thinking about doing, you need help with your calendar. But again, plan your work and then work your plan, and just stick to it. So make adjustments when it's needed, and you'll find out what works and doesn't work, but be very intentional. You work very hard. I mean, if it's a client you meet at an open house, you work very hard to convert that person into a client. You invest a lot of time and money into getting them a house. So to me, it's worth the time and money in maintaining that relationship over the long haul, because you don't know when they're going to get relocated. My one story I have is I helped somebody, it was actually from my farm area, my passive marketing, called me to sell their house. They had got a promotion and they were going to buy their dream house in Webster. So we sold their house. They bought their dream house in Webster, and 30 days later, they got relocated. So we sold the house in Webster. And I ended up selling the house in Webster myself, and I put them on my list, and I had to sell their house in Henrietta. And then the people that moved to California came back and bought another house, and I'm still friends with them. And this is just ongoing stuff. I mean, your business after a few years should literally look like a family tree, and you should be able to start connecting all the branches and leaves and apples on that tree back to specific clients. You should be able, just like your family tree, be able to write names of clients, and so came from so-and-so. And this person was referred to me by this client, and this person I've known since they were 6 years old, and I sold their parents' house, and now they're buying a house. And your business should be very much connected like that. The hardest thing to do is, the agent I mentioned, Sharon, is just hard sitting there working through leads every day and just chasing down business. Create a model and make the investment where the business is chasing you, and just always do the right thing by your clients, So anyhow, it's a lot of fun. I like teaching these classes. They continue to evolve. I've got one agent bugging me to do a part 3. I don't know what part 3 would be, but we'll see what we come up with. And again, feel free to reach out. Call me anytime. I appreciate you guys taking the time to be here. So go out and make it a good week. Come up with some good ideas. Still have plenty of time to get Thanksgiving cards out. That's a big one. Very easy, very affordable. Cost just stamping a card, and I'll get those resources out to you if you email me. So, okay. Very good. Thanks, guys.
Bye. Thank you.
You're welcome.